I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion, need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Pledge of Allegiance time. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And as a normal board meeting, we like to share good things. If anybody has anything they'd like to share about our school district, please feel free.
So I wanted to start, if you guys noticed around the room, some of them have fallen, but the elementary school wanted to thank the board for buying them the Christmas hats. So they put these up and wanted to give you guys a thank you. So just wanted to share that with you.
We've had a really good week and a half at the high school. 19 FBLA members made it to state. 3 DECA members, 3 speech and debate placed last week at Herman, and court warming dance Saturday night. So it's been a really fun week and a half.
We got to showcase the firehouse and some of the stuff that the F Club does there for our students. We had the South Central counselors meeting there today and got to showcase that program, and there was a lot of inquiry and a lot of praise for what we do for our students there and how we like celebrate them, because that space really does celebrate our kids. And so that was a really positive showcase of our school district today.
Awesome. Anyone else? All right. On to recognitions. Mr. Webster's going to do some board recognitions.
Yeah, so since we won't hold a board meeting again hopefully before the week of March 6th, just wanted to take a moment to go ahead and recognize you guys. I know you put a lot of time and effort into your efforts. The salary's pretty big at $0. So from the school district, I would just like to thank you guys for your service to the school.
Yep, thank you. All right. Do we have any statements from patrons behind you, Karen? Sorry.
I don't see
any. All right. Okay, we're on to presentations. Our first presentation is the school counselors will present the 2021-2022 time and task analysis.
Come on up, girls. So we have the, is this on? Okay, so we have our time task that you guys can see. It kind of breaks down our use of time, but like I've told you before, it's a kind of a snapshot, and it's not 100% 100% accurate because what we do is we take Monday of this week, Tuesday of the next week, Wednesday of the next week. So it really depends what's going on in our building at that time as to what we're doing. I think one of the days I was doing ASVAB testing, and so all of my stuff was actually on what MSCA would consider non-counselor duties because it was testing. And so that's where that gets a little bit wonky. So if you have any questions, you want to know why is this number big here, but it's not big at the elementary school or whatever, just reach out and ask because I'm sure there's a great explanation. We presented to our counseling advisory committee. So Tina, sorry, you get to repeat some of this. We did slice it down a little bit. But we just kind of wanted to let you know what we're doing and what our years look like. So first, introductions. I'm Barb Wilson from the high school. I do 9 and 10. 10th grade, Nikki Berkman does 11th and 12th. And then we also have Mallory North, who is a graduate of our high school. I believe it was 2017 she graduated, and she's our college advisor, and she's doing great things and has really been able to connect with the kids because she's not that far removed from where they're sitting right now, so that's been great.
Sarah Baker, one of the middle school counselors.
I'm Sarah Hammonds. I do pre-K through second.
Jillian Dowdema, middle school also.
Shelley Jackaloni, 3 through 5.
And so we're just going to kind of walk you through these slides. If you have any questions, please stop us. Otherwise, if you want to ask later, you can always email us.
So we all were able to go to the conference, the Missouri Counseling Conference. That was that picture. And from there, we learned all these statistics of just from pre-pandemic, and this is from the CDC, Washington U. I've got the sources cited under there. But basically, not just our building, because our district, we've been noticing that there's been a high rise of anxiety levels, and just everyone is feeling trauma. So at the conference, we learned, with these stats, that it's nationwide. So everywhere, people are feeling it, and it's hitting the schools harder because their brains aren't developed yet, so they don't have those coping skills yet, or they have the coping skills, but their brain's still developing to kick those in. So we'll see on other slides, but every building, it's just nonstop all day trying to service our students to help them get through because they're feeling it really heavily.
So just to snapshot some things for St. James. The first, we pulled the CSIP goal. We tried to pull the two that we are directly responsible for a part of that, and the trauma-informed schools. That's really a statewide initiative, but St. James has embraced that. So we are doing our best to implement that. As you know, like our PD days, we are pretty structured and filled with all kinds of things that we all need to know, but we are incorporating some trauma-informed learning for our staff to make sure that they're supported and that they have the information that they know to accurately address the needs of our kids. We send out, anytime any of us comes across an article or statistic or something that we feel like our staff needs to know, we try to share that out. If not, like I may share it with the high school and then share it with these guys so they can decide if it's relevant to their population or not. If it's something that I feel like is district-wide, then we just automatically share it out. So keeping them informed and with up-to-date information, but we're also doing some in-service stuff. We have this upcoming PD, and Jillian will probably hit on this in a little bit. We're partnering with prevention consultants to provide some education for our staff. The next slide down kind of shows why this is important. Buddy packs, and some of these numbers are pulled from like November, and so they have probably increased a little bit. But buddy packs, district-wide, we send out 45. That fluctuates from week to week depending on the needs of our kids. But basically that is, a food bag going home with the kids on the weekend because they don't have access to nutritious food on the weekends. Suicide conversations, I want to preface this with this is some of these are just the kid was referred to us because they were in class and they made a bad choice of words. However, some of them and I know many of the ones at the high school for sure have resulted in actual protocols, you know, where we've walked through and kind of assessed and made contact with the parents. You know, we have 44 of our kids is a pretty large number if you're thinking about kids that are seriously considering suicide. And so that's something that we are actively always working to provide them with the skills and things they need to not get to that point. School-based therapy, this has been a huge asset for us. We have 3 school-based therapists now who come in, and I know at the high school, like we have one each day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you can see there the numbers. We had 43 kids being serviced, and that just provides them with more intensive therapy than we're able to provide. It's through Compass Health, and it allows us, some of those kids who really need that intensive help, it allows us to hand them off to someone else who's better prepared and able to help them so that we can meet the needs of the other kids also. This is just an example of how the anxiety has, where it's at right now. As you can see, like 2024 and 2025, our younger kids, their anxiety levels are pretty high. I mean, we're talking 40% of our freshmen and sophomores self-report that they feel anxious. The numbers are a little bit lower for juniors and seniors, but as you can see over here, we only got half of those classes to answer the survey. And so I think had the whole class self-reported, they probably would be very similar. The same with depression, you know, that we have pretty high self-reporting of depression as well. I put this up here more because you are the policymakers for our school district. So I feel like it's important when we have new issues coming to light, and our gender nonconforming student population is rising. And so I just feel like it's really important that you guys are aware and prepared, because there will be a time in the future where we may need to address some things from that perspective. I think that's kind of speaks for itself, just other things that our students reported. What's next, Shannon? Middle school.
Yay, our turn. Okay, we went ahead and put our first quarter numbers in terms of how many visits Sarah and I both had just for the first quarter. So we see a lot of students, just depending on the time of year and what's going on. And that's not even including the school-based therapist on top of that. So it's a big help to have that person take those higher needs kids that we would see more frequently. Then we sat down with every single student just for a minute or two, sometimes just 30 seconds, depending on how quick we could go through the questions. And we just asked them, is anything bothering you outside of school? Is there anything that you need to see one of us about? And you can see the numbers right there. For the class of 2028, it was just 7 out of 122 if they had something bothering them. And then as the classes get older, you can see that there were more and more kids that said yes, but at the same time, first quarter, our 6th graders don't know us that well yet, so they're not going to be like, oh, hey, yeah, I got it. I got things I got to talk about. So that's kind of where those numbers came from. And if you could scroll down, did you have anything to add on that?
Just the numbers too could be misleading, because sometimes we have to see someone, you know, for over an hour, depending on the issue too. And when we met face to face with each student, I think that was a great icebreaker too, because we had a lot of follow up later on of, now I know you, you talked to me one-on-one. So
Yeah.
That was something new we tried this year that we'll continue to do.
Definitely. Oh, you all right?
It's me. So this data came from our needs assessment that we gave in September. So Shelly and I, we met with every single student in the month of September one-on-one, and we asked these questions from the survey. And the first question that we asked was, do you have an adult that you can talk to at school, and who is that? And so we had 100% of our students say they had someone. But what was really powerful about this is that it was spread throughout the whole school system. So it wasn't just classroom teachers that they responded, that they had a relationship with. So I think that really speaks to our culture at the elementary. The next question was, do you have enough food? And 5% of our students said no. And so we addressed this through our Buddy Pack program that Barb was speaking of, and they receive those Buddy Packs on Friday of each week. And then the next question is there anything you need to see the school counselor about? So we had a range between 43 and 45% of our school kids that said yes, they did. And then the next one is the total visits for that quarter, which, you know, this is first quarter, so we're kind of just getting started, and those numbers have just increased over time. Then the next slide is about the CSEP Goal 3, and this is about the relationships I spoke about in the survey. So on the annual basis, 100% of our students will identify a trusting adult that they have that they can visit with. And we did that through the survey.
And so this is just the high school relationship data from quarter 1. We created a 5 question survey because a lot of our juniors, seniors do RTI and they do CEP and they do AOE and they're not always in the building. Ms. Berkman sends that out via email, and that also accounts for the 54% or 49% because our kids don't like to check their email. I did the survey, the same questions, but I pulled the kids in one at a time. For me, I didn't feel like I knew my sophomores because of last year being crazy, and so I wanted to make sure to reconnect with them and then also to introduce myself to the freshmen. By the time the kids are juniors and seniors, they know who we are, so that's not as big of a concern that they won't, know our faces. We had 55 kids out of our 535 at that time who said they had no connection or they maybe had a connection, and I feel like if you can't give a name, then you don't have a connection. And so I think 55 is a fair number, which was about 10%. 116 of our 535 kids said they weren't involved in anything. And then we had 10 kids who said specifically that they had no friends in the school. Obviously, this is the population that we are targeting with this, through all of our work. I am interested. I'm going to reissue, the connection survey and see. I think some of that will go up because, like I said, the freshmen who didn't know us and such. We also are doing the flip side. So in our PLC meetings, we have note cards with every student's name on them, and the teachers are identifying students that they feel connected to, and kind of taking ownership of that relationship from that standpoint. So we're hitting it from both sides.
All right, so we took our data a little bit differently. We also asked, do you have an adult here at school here that you can talk to, and do you have an adult that you are, just kidding. This is our stuff from the year before. We had a whole bunch of kids that were virtual. It was difficult to create relationships in a virtual environment. So you can just see our comparison from February of 2021 to October of 2021. So you can see the improvement that was made with our 7th and 8th graders in the fact that they could identify somebody. And again, that 12% for our current 6th graders is low just because it's the first quarter and they're still trying to learn who their people are. So that's all I have to say about that. You have anything? Sorry. I was trying to think. Oh, is this mine too? No, this is not mine.
I think this is mine.
Okay.
Okay, so solutions, we kind of touch on them as we go through this, but staff education, we feel like it's important that our staff know, not just trauma-informed education, but if we see a certain issue or concern arising with our students, to make sure that our staff are educated, not about that student and their issue, but about that, for example, substance abuse. If we have a large number of students coming into our office who are dealing with the effects of substance abuse within their family or whatever, we want to make sure and we're providing adequate staff education so they know how to deal with that in the classroom. Guidance lessons in the classrooms, that happens a lot. It happens regularly at the elementary school, a little less at the middle school. By the time they get to high school, it's really hard to get those in, but we try to partner with one department every quarter to get into the classrooms and do some kind of guidance lesson. Morning tutoring at the middle school, they were specifically using CKH for that. The middle school has teen leadership class and an after-school small group. We, at the high school, we're doing a PLC intervention group, so we've pulled our practical arts, fine arts, PE department, and Nikki and I are kind of organizing that to move in the direction of a multi-tiered system of support, which mirrors what they do in the classroom. Identifying the high-risk, at-need kids, coming up with a plan specifically for that kid, and then assigning different staff members to help with that. I feel like it's going to be a really positive and effective procedure. It's just a matter of getting it rolling and moving in the right direction. Our individual work with the students, our group interventions, and then the collaboration with community programs, which is something I feel like we've really increased in the last couple of years.
So part of the community collaboration is we've re-implemented our advisory committee, which is different stakeholders within the community and how we work with them and what they see the needs are. Prevention consultants is a really big asset for us. They do a ton of stuff. There's the game show presentation that they do at the elementary. We're working on getting a youth coalition where we have students actually talk to different stakeholders and tell them what they need from their standpoint, because sometimes we just don't know. We're not the kids, so we have to ask them. And then there's the Too Good for Drugs program, which is we're now implementing K through 8 for sure. And then this morning, actually, at our meeting, they were talking about, I brought my notes because I knew I was going to forget, the Seeking Safety program, which would be the extension to the Too Good for Drugs program, where they talk more about opioids and good decision-making, healthy coping skills, things along those lines. So really pulling those community resources that are already there, that already have the funding, and using those. The community partnership has come into the elementary and done friendship groups. Our Kids Harbor comes and does Teen Safety Matters at the middle school, and then we have and the high school too.
Yeah, they do.
Both. And then we have obviously Compass Health that we talked about a little bit or a couple times with the school-based therapist. That's extra helpful. So.
So moving forward, how do we support someone who's experienced trauma? So we are just really trying to get the information out to these kids. That's basically
Next slide.
it. Yep, next slide. So in development right now, we have continued education for us. We're doing our research and trying to be the best out there. Vertical alignment of focus. So we talked about Too Good for Drugs and Team Safety Matters. Just trying to provide age-appropriate information, and then provision of stability and normalcy. So you go ahead. So we are just always open for feedback. If you guys hear of anything that is pressing in the community that we need to know about, we're happy to take that on and see what we can do. You can call us, email us, come see us. Right now, if you have any questions.
I think it's important to say, and I meant to say this earlier, but we have a really strong team.
Yes.
I would say within each building, the team is strong. We work well together. Nikki and I are really compatible. Sarah and Shelly, Sarah and Jillian. But as a team, the 6 of us we're strong and we are passionate. And to get 6 women in one room who are strong and passionate and have positive outcomes is something that you don't see a lot of. But we are able to do that because we work really well together and no one's in it for themselves. Everyone's in it for the kids. And so I think we definitely can hold our heads high with what we're doing here. But I think you guys should be proud also of the supports that you've given us and allowed us to make our counseling team what it is.
Second that.
That's it. Anybody have any questions for us?
Just a couple things. So first, are you guys charting this with each individual class? So class of 2027, do they get charted from the time you first interview them as kindergartners all the way through their senior year? Are they going to have a chart as a class as they go?
So that is part of the vertical alignment process. To this point, no.
Okay.
We don't have, I don't have data on my class of 2022 going back.
So this
I have-
this is your baseline. What we're looking at is your baseline.
Right. We
Cool.
started last year with
That doesn't
how
count.
are we going to
Yeah.
do this? But then Yes, this is our baseline.
And so do you anticipate to have a baseline as well? So not necessarily following 2027 all the way through, but also following each 7th grade class and what 7th grade looks like comparatively each year. Cool. All right. That's my only questions.
I think it is a little alarming to see the anxiety, depression levels for our middle school and high school. I mean, I can understand there's a lot of pressure under them, but these ladies obviously are doing a fantastic job. It's my Uncle Brad, who works in the school district, always says, he says the counselor does everything. They're administrators, teachers, counselors. They are amazing people, so thank you guys.
You have any stake in that.
Yeah.
But I do think that, I mean, we're not the only people who would stand up here and tell you that our kids are feeling the effects of what's going on in the world today. I mean, I think every teacher in the building would stand up here and say, yeah, I can see a difference in the kids this year from kids 3 years ago, and it's not because they're different kids, it's because their lives are totally different.
And it's not because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's just a variable, one variable.
So,
Well, we recently reached out with our FFA supporters group about donating to the Buddy Pack program, and Tori told us you guys spend like $150 to $200 a week on those. So everybody that asks me around town, I always encourage, if they're wanting to donate money to something, to look into that, because that's a program that's in need of a lot of funding.
it is.
I know that was a little alarming. 5% of the elementary says they have no food at home. That's, wow, that's a big number for me.
Well, and that's, the littles are honest.
Yes.
I mean, and so that's the thing, is they may tell us, and then Shelley and Sarah get on the phone and say, hey, so-and-so sibling is saying this, and so then we're able to help the high school and middle school kids who maybe aren't as forthcoming with that information.
And as they get older, they're more embarrassed about having the need, and so sometimes they just won't take what we offer them, which is also very difficult for us, because we want to help. That's just our nature as counselors. So it becomes more of a struggle when they're not as honest as they are when they're little people.
But we do a good job, like they were saying, talking among different buildings. If we have an issue with a student who we think it might affect the entire family, we'll get on the phone, like all of us, multiple times a week of, hey, can you check with so-and-so to make sure that they're okay because their little sibling said this happened last night. So again, like seconding that we're a pretty strong team. We just talk a lot just to make sure that our students are really okay.
You forgot the last 2 members of your team out. One of them in there. So.
The furry ones.
Mhm.
No, just
Yeah.
they are the stars, and anytime they visit, our high schoolers are begging, Nikki and I to
They
adopt a
remember
dog.
Cosmo.
Yeah.
They love being here.
Pretty
So.
sparky, I don't know.
Add trauma.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay around for the rest of the
I appreciate
Does
the
that mean that we
invite.
get first dib on, like, before your email comes out? Like, we would get Then you're tempting me, but.
I think Mookie needs to go outside. Better listen to the bus.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
All right, we're on to the annual vocational enhancement grant proposal.
Yeah, so taking a look at this, obviously, with the VOC reimbursement percentage, it's at 70-30. So the grant will offer us 70%, the district's liable for the other 30. You can see this year, lab kits and the editor PC kits. On the other document that's attached, it breaks those down a little bit more. That's the actual, I guess, receipt or PO for it. And then Adobe licenses for Miss Bouse's class and for high school. Total on that's $31,675. The cost to the district is $9,500 after we get reimbursed for this. So these are things we're going to have to purchase either way. So this is a good chance to get involved on that. Part of the requirement of this is before we can apply for it, it has to be board approved. So later tonight, I'll ask you guys to just approve that so we can make these purchases.
Okay. All right.
Make a motion on the consent agenda.
There we go. Can I have a second?
Second, I'll say.
Got a second from Larry. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Discussion topics, summer school dates.
So I'd like to propose to you guys, or just kind of tell you, unless there's doesn't really have to be a motion on it, so just tell you unless there's an objection, I guess, what we're going to propose for summer school. In the past here, we've always done the 4 or 5 in some kind of one way or another, just more for credit at the high school because that's how long the classes last. So that's why it's set up like that. This is pretty consistent with years past here. So we would start on June 6th and summer school would end on June 30th. So if there's no objections, that'll be what we move forward with.
And last year, we were going to do sometime in August, but there wasn't enough interest, right? That's why we
Correct.
didn't do
Yeah,
it,
each
so.
building's kind of vetted, their staff as well as students, and it was a real struggle to find students and staff. So this year, luckily, we've been able to do the before school and after school tutoring, so I don't foresee making an attempt at additional summer school unless for some reason we were going a bunch more this year.
All right, on to action topics. We need to get a motion to approve the Branco's final payment.
Legally speaking, if the check has the words final payment written on them and they cash it, then they have legally accepted final payment, cannot ask for more money.
I make a motion that we issue the final payment with that in the memo.
Okay, I have a motion from John. I need a second. Got a second from Justin. Any discussion?
So, is it the 163 or the 139?
163.
Because it's highlighted due upon receipt.
It is, and I've gone back and all of them are like that. I don't really understand it. I don't know why they do it like that, but that is the total we discussed. That's the total he put on there.
That punch list is completed.
There are two. Correct. There are 2 items that are still outstanding that are on my board report that I was going to talk about, but they are warranted items. It's not a punch list item, so those 2 items are still in the process, but all punch list items are completed.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then on to,
Make a motion to approve the
There you go.
vocational enhancement grant.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then the communications director and a behavioral specialist. So I need a motion to approve to hire a communications director.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion? Need a second? Got a second? Discussion? This is, so basically this was the presentation that we had from the young lady.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
You can see listed on the job description there the tasks that will fit into the job. Within salary schedule will be paid as a certified position, but it will be a classified position. The contract has additional days to the school year, just based on obvious before school and after school needs with them. And with this position, it's typically a position that does have to attend board meetings and extra events so they can get those out there. And obviously, if there's a crisis in the district, they're going to be at work no matter what time it is. So that's what the extra days justify on that.
Where's the time savings here, Tim, on Director of Communications as far as, is it saving you time? Is it saving April time? Is it saving everyone time?
So we had that discussion a little bit the other day. I think it is time savings for the entire administrative staff.
Okay.
I know, openly speaking from my standpoint, when there is a situation or crisis, I'm spending myself communicating more than helping with the situation, which I don't think is a real good use of my money and time. And I think that can be said for each building principal as well. Coach Shockley came to me earlier this year and even expressed that if you remember in the past year, there was a position for kind of a part-time secretary for the athletic director that had gone away, I guess, 2 years ago. So he'd kind of expressed to me that he needed some of that work done. When we looked at what the communications person can pick up on his job. He now said, hey, I don't think I need that. So from even an athletic standpoint, I think that's there. And from all of our principal standpoint, there's going to be benefits for this.
Is there anything else that could be picked up other than communications that we could maybe make use of another position to,
Yep.
or anything like that?
Yeah, within here, I tied in the volunteer program, which is something we have not really gotten off the ground here with. So this position is going to be tied with being in charge of anybody that wants to help out within the district, any groups that want to get within the district. Essentially, it's going to be tied in to getting people to come and work within the district. So to tell you exactly what that's going to look like, we don't have here yet. So this person's going to have a big hand in designing what that looks like moving forward. If we have people volunteering to help out in any facet, whether it be athletics or just watching the library or cafeteria duty, they would be in charge of that. We're also still going to investigate the fact that, and speaking with Faye after about 43 years with the district, she's still ensuring me that she has 2 years left. So to pick up 43 years of knowledge from her could take 2 years, so it wouldn't be a bad plan to have somebody working on that right now over the next 2 years when they have free time.
And if we approve this, when would they start?
Ideally, it would be with the position with the days, it would be an August hire. Their contract would start in July just like everybody else, but they wouldn't start until 7 days before the school year started. Within that, I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was going to tell you. Yeah, so they'd start next school year. With this position, I think it's important to find the right fit over just filling a position. Reality is, I think I just need to address it right now. You know, there's a shortage of finding people. I have full intention, if we can't find the right applicant, then I don't want the wrong applicant in the position. One staff member has reached out. Yep.
So the salary schedule is just gonna follow just like the certified teacher salary
Correct.
schedule? Years of
Correct.
service with education?
Yeah. Within kind of taking a look at it here, we're asking for preferably a master's degree in this. So I think to find somebody with a master's degree, you're going to have to get on the certified salary schedule.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. I had a motion and a second, so all those in favor of hiring a communications director, say aye.
That's both of them, right?
Or are we doing just?
You just did the one?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Aye, thank
Okay.
you. Sorry.
All right, so then, behavioral specialist, I need to entertain a motion to hire a behavioral interventionalist proposal specialist. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion, need a second? Second, okay, any discussion?
Is this person dealing K through 12?
The initial plan here is it's going to start at the elementary. Would we like to grow that? Yes. I believe district-wide, that would be too big of a job for one person. So I think Dan's been working hard on a way to make that work with what he currently has. With some openings we have, we might be able to reformat what we're currently doing in ISS and kind of make that more of a behavior specialist room. Within that, you can see within the document that April put together here, there's a need. After listening to the counselors talk, there is a need. There's a need district-wide. I don't think we have the resources to go all throughout now. So I think it does make good sense to start in our biggest building, in our building where we can make an impact with younger kids.
Isn't there was this the one that there's some money out there if we hire this, or we can offset it with something?
There is, this could fit in with Title I, so federal money.
Perfect.
There are percentages depending, the salary is based off of the percentage of time they spend with Title I, so any portion doing that would be paid for by the federal government.
And we wouldn't be cutting any one of our staff now.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So right now, is this need just being supported, like, by our admin team or by our counselors, or who is supporting this need? We obviously have a gap because we're trying to fill this.
Yeah, so I'll let, and if the elementary wants to chime in, but I think it would be fair to say, teachers, administratively, counselors, we've seen plenty of behavior issues from the ground up, honestly.
We have a team, on that team are several of the people that he mentioned, and some other folks in the building who we feel like have a lot of experience with that, special education teachers and whatnot. And we just pull from each other, and they borrow steel, right?
Was this the one that you had looked at outsourcing possibly to one of the behavioral places in Rolla? Or they had reached out to us to offer it or
So it
some
fits
sort?
in with, I think it was Barb that talked about it, with what Compass
Yes.
Health is providing for us right now. With what we are, I think, is it Medicaid, I think? So for a student to see that, they have to be on Medicaid before
And
they can see
we
that.
don't have the percentage, right? That would fit into where they could get the help there.
Correct, for a
Yeah.
full time, so that's why, let's just try and do it ourselves.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve to hire a behavioral specialist. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Do want to just throw in one last thing with the behavior specialist. I think, in speaking with April, that's another one of those situations, if we don't have one next year, it's because we didn't have good applicants, just to be honest, because I think that's another very important, you don't want to just put a body in there to put a body in there. Taking a look at the superintendent's report, COVID update, numbers within the district. As if you guys keep up with the dashboard, we had hit 60s and 70s in positive cases. The snow days have found to be very good for us in the COVID world, as cases have dramatically dropped. I think under 10 probably this week so far within the district. Where the catch is right now, our attendance is in the low 80%, and it's influenza A. So if you've heard anybody lately discussing, well, where did the flu go? By golly, it's in St. James, Missouri, and I wish it'd go back away. So I guess it's a catch-22. We kicked the COVID bug, and now we're just getting flat hammered with the flu. So it is what it is. Testing, obviously they ran out of tests. DESE ran out. Most places have ran out. At one point, I even called Dr. Wilson over there and said, hey, can you get me some tests over this school ASAP? And he said, yeah, good luck. But we did get an email that they have reloaded on some tests. We were to a point where we had made kind of an executive decision that each building was going to hold 10 tests back to save for staff members. And when we were out, we would just have to tell people, hey, you got to find your own tests because we don't have any. We expect that not next week, but the following week, we should get those in. So depending what the COVID world looks like, at least we'll be able to keep testing. Legislative update. There is a lot to talk about. I feel like every year I've been in education, there's the legislative scare, but I feel like some of these can really have huge impacts on public education. 3014, which is essentially ESSER 3, 49 of the 50 states have appropriated that money to the schools. Missouri is the only state in the union to not give the money to those schools. If they have not appropriated the funds by March 22nd, it goes back to the federal government, and the federal government splits it up between the other 49 states. So I can see no reason why we would want to set the precedent that Missouri is the only state that will not give free money to children, but we're proving to hold strong to that right now. I would like to remind the board that we followed DESE's recommendation of starting learning loss immediately this year, because that's the best practice for kids. So we've essentially spent $300,000 of that money in before school and after school tutoring. Would that be a shot to the district? It would. Is it going to be detrimental? Is Is it a fear? No, but it sure would be nice that they hold up to their end of the bargain now. And after we did, and every other school did what they told us to do, it sure would be nice if they gave us the money now. 1814 is open enrollment. This is something that's been kind of going around in the legislation for a couple years now. If you guys check your board emails, today I sent you an email with a little blurb of what I recommend you send to MSBA. The reason for that is the real scare, legislatively speaking, this year is it's a reality. This year at the delegate session, MSBA changed their 5 pillars, and they're not coming out and saying it, but they softened them. Susan Goldhammer, the legal counsel for MSBA, came out about a month ago and said that open enrollment and House Bill 1814 did not fit into who they were and what they supported, so they would lobby against it. About a week ago, MSBA came back out and said, hey, this meets all of our requirements now as we've relooked at our pillars, and we think it could be a good thing. If school districts lose the support of MSBA, that's going to be a huge cut to our fight we're trying to fight. What this bill would do is it would allow any student within our district to go to whatever school they want to go to, whenever they want to go, whether it be for athletic reasons. At one point in this bill, it says cannot move for athletic reasons, but then like on page 18, it says can move for athletic reasons. So it's a poorly written bill. I challenge you to Google it and look at it if you've got time to read 20 pages of information. Obviously, anybody could come to our school that wanted to come, but we would not receive money for that child. We would just be educating them for free, which we will gladly do because we care about children. But at the end of the day, if we're educating kids we're not getting paid for, we don't have money to operate. So that's why it is very detrimental to us and what we are doing. House Bill 1995 and 1474 is 101 Parents' Right Bill. What this does is it states that all curriculum as well as all funding and PD be listed publicly on your website within 5 days of happening. This is something that I could not imagine how districts would be able to do without just hiring somebody full-time to sit around and put every single thing you do on the internet. Within the curriculum part, I have no fear of sharing with any parent that wanted to come and look at what our teachers are teaching. But where the caveat to that is they are saying that you have to put that online, and once it's online, you have to stick to it. Why that's not realistic or good for education is you all have children. Sometimes it takes kids longer to learn things. So now we're going against our educational philosophies and saying that we're going to teach kids to, no, you're going to follow this pacing guide that you made at the beginning of the year, and now you got to stick on it whether they've learned it or not. It's also very scary because a parent can look at that online curriculum and say, I don't want you to teach that to my kid. And you can't teach it to their kid. So I feel everything we teach children is aligned to Missouri state standards. So it is things that the state has told us their children need to know. So it's scary that somebody that might be educated or might not be educated can simply walk up to you and say, you're not teaching that to my kid. So that's a scary scenario as well. 1992 is the sales tax and Prop C money that schools receive. Essentially, the best I can understand the bill, they are trying in Missouri to get rid of the food tax. So any food you would buy would no longer be taxed. Obviously, Prop C is a good chunk of money that school districts get. So in summing this up, it really feels like public schools are under fire right now in the state of Missouri. Just my opinion, but a lot of people share it. Nutrition report. Linda has been looking at trying to get finger scanners back with the $300,000 grant that we got approved for last semester. We were able to find some finger scanners that have the infrared lighting on there actually. So the infrared would kill COVID or any kind of germs, so flu, anything. The scanners have that, so we're looking at trying to get those ordered with that. That'll obviously help with accounting for children again, since we've gone to just checking boxes during COVID times since we haven't been able to bring kids in. We have not been as assured as we previously had been that every meal is being accounted for. And obviously with the raise in food prices, there's we need to make sure that every kid we're feeding that we're being reimbursed for. She's also been looking at applying for the DESE and Department of Health summer program. In the past, they've done the Department of Health program, but right now the Department of Health and DESE are kind of going back and forth on the reimbursement rates. So we're going to wait a little bit longer than we have in the past to apply for that, to see who gives the higher reimbursement rate, and that's who we'll go with. Facilities report, GRP at the high school, the project, HVAC, and electric control contractors are going to try and start a little bit earlier than they originally told us when they came and talked to us. They're going to try and start getting within the building in March. That way they can just get ahead of the project. All this work will be done, such as the lighting project, so it'll only be done at nighttime, and then they'll fix everything so it doesn't affect education. They are also still moving forward and designing plans for us to fix some elementary roofs and the possible weight room cafeteria expansion at the high school, but that'll be dependent upon if ESSER 3 money is appropriated. Branco Dake Wells, we did our final walkthrough on January 25th, which led to you guys approving the final payment to Branco. There are only two outstanding things. One's the VCT tile, which honestly I did not even notice because it was not on the punch list until we did the final walkthrough. So, yeah, so if up by the elevator, the ramp that goes down, the tile's already cracking there. Speaking with them, you can't put hard tile on a ramp because it's going to crack on the crease. So they're looking to come back through and possibly put some rubber handicap accessible stuff there to keep that from happening. And then the sprinkler heads that almost hit our band director in the head one day still have not been fixed, but they have to get a lift to get in there and make that happen. Technology report. Diamond Assets will be picking up our old iPads on February 22nd. This will complete the Apple device refresh that we did with staff and students this year. They're working on planning audio and video solutions. I think they said they're going to start in the middle school with that, just in updating the big area screens and audio that we have within the district. So when we have presentations, we can have good presentations. Activities, you can see there that Coach Shockley has listed everything big going on this month. So if you guys want to get to something, I know most of you are at most events, but if there's anything you want to go to, make sure you take a look and go support the kids. Kind of kicking into the financial report, I still find us in good shape within the district. You can see we have spent a little bit more money this year than we had last year on time, but I'd like to remind you that we've also spent $1 million and haven't been reimbursed for that yet on our Apple devices that were through a grant, as well as we'll be adding the $163,000 that was not budgeted for the Branco final payment, but within that we're still under what they bid us at for the project. It's just that money had been moved from the bond to our reserves, so it will come out of the reserves, but the money is there. You can see, and closing out the month at 55% of the budget, we're still in good financial shape for the school year. Building reports, obviously with Dr. Williams at a training right now. She's not here to present that, so I'm going to ask any of the buildings if there's anything on there that they would like to share, and if not, we'll move right along. Elementary, you guys have anything you'd like to share?
We love kids.
That is a good one to hear. Good answer. Miss Lepper?
We love them more.
No, you don't.
Great answer.
What did I put on there? No. We love them the most.
I started to say love them the most. Come on, Johnson.
We love them together this week.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been good collaboration within the district this week.
The wrestling, all buildings sent the wrestling team off today, so that was fun.
That was really cool. Yeah, all three buildings got to be a part of that.
Our kids were excited.
Do you guys have anything for any of the buildings on the building report? Okay, then kicking right along to community appreciation. to my understanding, in the past year, they've always done a breakfast. Last year, we did a barbecue. I thought that was pretty neat, actually. So I kind of wanted to kick off and stay with that tradition. You guys know by this point, hopefully you know I'm a big ideals guy. So I thought, why not just thank the people that have done something for us, but let's thank our students and let's thank our staff. So this year the plan is on Monday, April 11th. We'll start off with a all-district barbecue where Dr. Williams and myself will barbecue for all students and staff. Tuesday, April 12th, we'll start at the elementary school, that's a big building, so we'll get our grill on. Wednesday, April 13th, we will cook for the middle school staff and students. And then Thursday, April 14th, we'll cook for the high school staff and students. And that first day of the week, the Monday, will be our normal community day. So that week I will be a grill master.
I was gonna say, you sure you don't want to split the elementary? You got an
Yeah.
extra day in there.
And pray there's no rain that week. But we'll make it work. It'll be a great time. MSBA report, taking a look at things there. MSBA has formed a Success Works Group Committee at the state level. The push there is for competency-based learning, where they want schools to have clear learning targets, guided assessments, and find the appropriate level of learning for each child, and ensure that a child is college and career and workforce ready. I feel at St. James School this has been a priority of ours for some time, so great. They can come here and learn how we're doing things. Great for our kids. Teacher retention. Mike Parsons has proposed a starting teacher pay of Missouri to go from $25,000 to $38,000. This is very tricky as school districts do not want to sound ungrateful for this because this is a great thing. We are the lowest paid state in the United States, so this is overdue. Unfortunately, he just told some school districts that do only make $25,000 that they have to move their starting salary to $38,000, and there's no guaranteed funding for this. So it's a great thing, but I sat in meetings yesterday with some smaller schools within our district, and she said, either I move my teachers to this and I lose my job for bankrupting the district, or I don't move my teachers to this and they rebel and I get fired. So that's a real issue that some smaller districts are facing. At St. James, this will not be as big of a shot for this school district. He's saying he's going to fund as a line item 70% of it, which means each year that will have to be reapproved. So as you guys know, in education, things usually get butchered. So the first year will be 70% and then maybe 60 the next year, and maybe we don't have enough the following, the way things are going. But either way, at us, that would be, if we did it the most equitable way, as our lowest step is only $1,200 off of that, it would be around a $1,200 raise for each employee, which would be a large in our proportions. So that'd be $180,000 right there, which would be in total about $300,000 we would have to find. To my understanding, the 70% only pays on the 70% of the base that does not already meet the state minimum, which we only have 3 steps that make that. So our 70% would only be like $8,000 we received. So we would be looking at adding $300,000 to our budget and receive around $8,000. So we're still sorting through this. One of the things I've found is you're required by state law to approve a salary schedule by May 15th. What a lot of school districts are doing, I found, is they're approving their current pay schedule, so it is legally approved. And then when we get closer to June, when we actually know what's going to happen and the governor tells us, then we can approve an updated one. Because right now we're a little bit at mercy. Is this really going to happen? Is it not going to happen? So we sure don't want to be the ones that jump the gun and then it never happens. So I would anticipate we'll see a salary schedule that's the exact same that we have, with full intentions of still issuing a raise and falling in accordance with this. And that's my MSBA report.
Make a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Got a motion, need a second? Second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, we're in closed session.